This is a wonderful step you're taking toward achieving the ultimate dream, owning your own home. You'll be laying a foundation for your financial future and setting the tone for your personal lifestyle. Let's get started today. Just a little bit of information about me as we head into the next slide. I do have a bachelor's of science in education, 15 years of sales industry experience. I am a running coach, and I am also an express offers certified realtor. I am a mom of one, a wife, and fur mama to two. And in the last 10 years, my husband and I have relocated our family 3 times. Yep, that's right, 3 times to 3 cities to pursue our careers. We moved all the way from the East Coast to the Rocky Mountains and to where we are now in the great state of Texas. So we've bought and sold homes, and with that said, I know a thing or two about relocating and becoming one with the new locals here in any new city. I'm a teacher by trade, and I think that's what makes me essentially a unique realtor, and I take pride in teaching my clients every step of the way, hence the reason why we're here today. I think it's extremely important that you kind of understand the home buying process from the start to the end, and I would love the opportunity to work with you and educate you so the next time you purchase your home or sell your home, you're more better prepared for that experience. Okay, so you came here today to get your questions answered. So if there is a key issue you'd like to hear about, what is it? Share it in the chat box and we'll be sure to answer it throughout this webinar. And if we don't get to it through this webinar, I absolutely promise you, we will be sure to answer it for you in a separate note at the end of today's presentation. My biggest question that I would ask is, what do you want to learn about the home buying process? What are your biggest fears? What are some of your concerns about lending? What are some of your concerns or questions about how to buy a home? Do you have questions about new construction? Do you have questions about resale and how you find the best home? Do you have questions about how do you move? How do you pack up your house? How do you pack up your apartment? There's a variety of different questions that come up through this home buying process, and that's what we're here to answer for you today. What we are specifically going to cover today are some of the myths, some of the fears, some of the facts about home buying. We're also going to talk about the realities of today's market. We certainly know that that has definitely changed. It's changed over the last year. It continues to change over the last month, and it certainly sometimes changes week to week, day to day. We'll also talk about 6 simple steps to home ownership. We'll highlight financing in a broad scale because we do have some people on today's webinar that are not local to Texas. And I will also encourage you to listen to Mandi's Minutes. Once a week, I post Mandi's Minutes on my Instagram page. There are plenty of questions and answers about financing, lending, and a little bit more specific to Texas. And then we will talk about next steps and end today's webinar with any Q&A. So let's talk about it. First, let me dispel some misconceptions about buying a home. First one, I can't afford to buy a home right now. Until you do the math, you don't know what you can and you cannot afford. Are you paying rent? You may be able to buy a home. You'll be putting your rent toward paying for your own home, not someone else's. In addition, there are tax savings that can often make up most of the difference between rent and a mortgage payment. We'll talk through the math later in today's presentation. I should wait until the market gets better. We've all had those kind of questions, or all of those internal thoughts. There's never a bad time, honestly, to buy the right home. It's my job as a realtor, though, to help you find a good buy and ensure you have the financial ability to hold on to it. Every market has an opportunity, and it may just be harder to find. But together, we can go through that process, identify your needs, identify your wants, and identify what you truly can afford. Over time, this investment in your home grows, and no matter what happens with the market, there is always a return on that investment, and oftentimes will help you, if you will, level up the next home purchase you have. I don't have money for a down payment. Oh, we hear that a lot. There are a variety of down payment options available for you. There are loan programs for first-time home buyers with down payments as low as 5% or less. And right now, folks, there are programs specifically in Texas and a few other states that allow first-time home buyers to not even put down a single penny. Thinking you have to wait to save up for a down payment may actually cost you more money due to delaying all the financial benefits of a home ownership. It is actually more important to own a home, generate that equity, and turn around on your investment than it is to just be throwing away cash month to month on a rental with no return. It is no different than leasing a vehicle. How about, I can't afford to buy my dream home? The best way to get closer to buying your dream home is to buy your first home. Remember, I already talked about the idea of buying a home to build equity, hold on to that investment, and to turn that around to level up. Your first home as a forced savings plan for your future home. There's another fear that some first-time buyers have, and that's fear of commitment, that it's a big commitment. And remember that you're never without a way out. The idea of owning a home sometimes can be a little bit scary. What do I do if life changes? I own this home. How do I sell it if my job changes? How do I sell it if I need to move somewhere else? How do I sell it if I hit a hard patch of my life and need to downsize or change? What if I outgrow my house? These are all common questions related to the idea of affording your dream home. If it doesn't end up being right for you, you can sell or rent or have someone else pay the mortgage. There are a variety of options when considering the idea of buying your dream home. What other misconceptions have you heard? What other misconceptions do you have? Fire them off in the chat and let's talk about them later. There are plenty more, I'm sure, but these are definitely the top 4 fears or concerns that home buyers have when looking at purchasing a home. I can't afford to buy a home because my credit isn't very good. We've all heard that. We've even told our own selves that. There are always options. Shame doesn't bring you closer to owning a home or having good credit. There are typically 2 types of credit challenges: poor credit history or no credit history. Both of these ideas definitely have solutions. Even if you have poor credit, you should still talk to a lender. There are a multitude of programs out there for poor credit or no credit history. And you might be pleasantly surprised at the outcome, that they might be able to offer you a program specifically for yourself. A good loan officer or a mortgage specialist will be able to help you resolve your credit challenges and set you on a steady path to home ownership. How about I should wait until I'm certain about my domestic future. Okay. People often feel they should wait until they are married, partnered, or ready to have children to buy a home. This is a huge myth. Huge myth. You don't need two incomes to buy a home. If you buy a home now, that offers your future partner an opportunity to gain equity and share in on that initial investment. Some people are worried about, what if I buy a home now and my future partner doesn't like it? Well, you're still entering a relationship of equity by owning that home. And that equity will essentially allow you to be choosier the next time you go back to buy a home, whether it's related to buying a new home that's right for your partner, right for your family, right for your job, right for the community. Making that initial investment develops that equity line, which will open more doors for your next purchase. Buying a home seems way too complicated. No one would ever tell you that buying a home is easy. That is not what I'm here to do today. But that is definitely why it's extremely important to partner with professionals who know the process and are committed to acting in your best interest. As a realtor and as an agreed upon client, I have a fiduciary duty to make sure that all of your best interests are in mind through the entire process. From your real estate agent to your mortgage officer, these experts absorb much of the complexity and the ability to simplify the process for you. So be very careful about whom you partner with, whom you hire to be your real estate agent and to be your mortgage officer. Make sure it's someone that you know, like, and trust. I should pay off my student loan debt before buying a home. If I wasn't sharing my screen right now, I'd be raising my hand. I myself bought my first home with an abundance of student loan debt and was able to hurdle that. And I will tell you that after purchasing my second home, I was actually able to get rid of my student loan debt and also had enough equity in my home that I could turn around and put down a large down payment on the purchase of another home. So student loan debt doesn't prevent you from buying a home. If you're making your payments on time and you're earning and preserving good credit, if you're having trouble making your payments or your student loan services are very good at finding a plan, you can then essentially help achieve your student loan goals and also incorporate that into purchasing your home and achieving your home goals. Putting off buying a home is like putting off building your own wealth. So, homeownership may be the best accidental investment, and with little knowledge of investments, can be the best intentional investment. My job is to help you understand these factors that affect your investment and make it intentional. I'll get into more detail on these throughout this session. Interest rates continue to remain low. This is the price you pay to borrow money from the bank to pay for your home. No different than the rate that is provided to you on a credit card. But when you're purchasing a home, you somewhat have a say on what that interest rate will be. In the last 45 years, a 30-year fixed rate mortgage interest rates ranged from 18.63% in 1981 to 3.31% in 2012. In the last 5 years, rates have remained in the range of 2.5% to 3.5%. And now that this year, 2020, has been a very unique year. We've seen rates drop to all-time lows, which is why it is a great time to invest in yourselves and buy a dream home. But just as I say that, I caution you, there is no guarantee rates will stay this way because they can always change. They can go up, they can go down, they all fluctuate related to the investor. Equity is the value of your home, which can grow year over year. This diagram shows how over a span of 30 years, equity in a home can increase from $15,000 to $486,000. This happens with equity buildup, which is a combination of the appreciation of a house and the debt you pay down on your mortgage. Your home's value can increase, and this is called appreciation. And I believe that being a homeowner is the greatest opportunity one can have. Our first home allowed us to get out of a rental habit. Our second home helped us to pay off school debt and build a family. And our third home's purpose has yet to be defined. The one thing we do know is homes can provide each of us a solution and lay the foundation for equity and long-term investments. Your loan amount increases as you pay it off. This debt is called a pay down. Buying your first home is an emotional decision, no doubt, no doubt. Home is where the heart is. A home represents your personal tastes and provides a haven of stability and security for both you and your loved ones. It represents pride of home ownership because it's yours. And with that, don't delay at buying your first home. Every month you wait could bring increases in interest rates, increases in home prices, or both. Another interesting fact about what it costs to buy and own a home is based on research conducted within the real estate research department. Historically, a family spent an average of 21.6% of their household budget, the mortgage and the principal. Today, paying the mortgage and principal and interest only requires 15.2% of the family budget. That's a 6.4% decrease. Why pay rent when you can own? If you took out a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for $250,000 and made monthly mortgage payments of $1,200, you'd pay $435,000 in mortgage and interest payments over the life of the loan. After 30 years of appreciation, you'd own a home with an appreciated value potential of nearly $600,000. That's the amount figured based upon a 3% annual appreciation on the value of your home. Keep in mind that the appreciation rates vary greatly on local conditions. Some markets are stronger than others, and some markets move faster than others. Compare that to paying a $1,200 monthly payment in rent over 30 years. Even if your landlord and probably never raised your rent, which is not likely, you would still spend $432,000. And honestly, folks, what would you own? What do you get back? You spent $432,000 and you get nothing at the time of your close. Just to sign your name, walk away, get your $1,000 deposit fee returned to you after 30 days and nothing more. These are reasons not to buy. You might have just said, what? Mandi just said, why not buy? Well, because there are some. If you're changing your job soon, this affects the ability to get a loan because lenders want 2 years of employment records with one company. If you need time to work on your credit score, or you have a lot of debt or not enough of a down payment. Again, these things affect your ability to achieve a loan. When your choices to buy are out of your budget, meaning you're looking at buying something that you can't realistically afford or can't manage the monthly payment, you shouldn't buy. You don't want to end up spending more money on a mortgage payment than what you can afford. However, factor in your potential for income growth, especially if you are in a new career. If you're planning to move again soon, you may not have enough time to build enough equity to make the move worthwhile. Meaning, if you want to buy a home now, but your market isn't booming, it's not hitting that 3% appreciation rate or higher, to buy a home and then to turn around 1 year later, 2 years later to sell, you may not get the best return on your investment. Also factor in the cost that it is to sell, which can be as much as 7.5% of the price of the home you own. Somewhat surprisingly, our current public health situation with the superbug, COVID-19, is not a reason to hold off on buying a home. There are ways to search for and to buy homes safely. There are many agents that have the ability to provide virtual showings, have the ability to do virtual consultations. We have the ability to do virtual closings. The agent that you choose to be in your corner will put best practices in place that keep exposure and contact minimal. I will explain this further when we pursue our search together. It is my job as the professional realtor to keep you safe and to keep the best practices in place. By joining me, I think the two of us can pursue this opportunity in a safe manner together. In our market, the average home price right now is $330,000. Buyers versus sellers market is a measure of supply and demand. How many houses are available for sale? And at any given time, the number of buyers that are in the market. Our market currently favors sellers. What does this mean for the buyer? Let me first step back before answering that question. Seller's market is being defined right now because our inventory shortage of resale homes. Resale homes. That doesn't mean that there is a shortage in the market for new construction homes. This segues me into what does it mean to have a buyer's market, or what does the buyer do in this seller's market? There are a variety of things that we can problem solve together. If a buyer's market is present, that means that the supply is up and demand is low. So buyers have lots of choices then. They can take some time to look around, and they may oftentimes get a really good deal on a purchase. Back to the idea of a seller's market. Supply is limited and demand is high. Sellers are in the driver's seat oftentimes, and buyers are coming in with full price offers and even over list price offers. There may be multiple offers, and I certainly will help you through that process, navigate through that process. Oftentimes in a seller's market, we are forced with what's called bidding wars, but we have ways around that idea. Again, as I mentioned, resale is not our only opportunity in any market, sellers or buyers. We have the opportunity to look at new construction and benefit from some of the very same features of buying a resale home. We are seeing our lowest interest rates ever. The last time I looked was this past Friday, and we were seeing numbers for interest rates as low as 2.86. I have listed here the median low interest rate, which is 2.92. And we are seeing a massive growth in our area and the surrounding expansion of North Texas that we've seen in the last 10 years, 71%. 71% is our growth rate here in North Texas. These are the 6 steps to get you to owning your new home. My job is to guide you through every one of them. It's my priority to educate you. Remember, I will use my teaching background to help bring things down to an easy, manageable level of understanding. And it's also my job to refer you throughout the whole process. And when I'm talking about referring, I'm not talking about referring you to understand what we're doing, but I'm also talking about referring you and connecting you with the right professionals and resources if it is something that is beyond my scope. There is another step that can help you to navigate these 6, and it's the 0 step, if you will. That is to visit my website. Not only does my website have some of the best search features on the market, it also ensures that you have me in your pocket as your realtor to navigate these 6 steps. So what are these 6 steps? Hire your agent, secure pre-approved financing. We do have preferred partners we can refer you to. Finding your home, making an offer and negotiating it to be the best offer for you, get your home inspected and negotiate any repairs, and take ourselves to the closing table so you can be a new homeowner. My website makes achieving your home ownership goals more accessible than ever before. So much more than search. It's an industry-leading feature set, and it's rich in insights. And I do a great job, I think, of preparing you to handle your entire journey, or shall I say, enjoy your entire journey. When you have questions in the middle of the night, I certainly ask that you refer to the guide. You can come up with any of your real-time information by being on my website. It's real-time information about transactions. It gives you tools to anticipate and ask me any questions every step of the way through the buying process. And it's paired with my expertise. And with that, you'll have everything I think that you'll need to get you to the light of your new home. The search function essentially allows you to find your dream home in whatever way works for you, whether it's by neighborhood, school district, zip code, or more. And my website has this ability to accommodate a variety of your needs when your search extends nationally. If you're looking to work with me on maybe selling a home here and buying somewhere else, that's a great way to use that national feature as well. With our neighborhood feature, you can get real-time stats on communities and go a little bit deeper to see what essentially makes them tick, how their market is moving. And from the locals' favorite coffee shop to the book club to the meet and greets once a week, you'll get an idea of what it's like to essentially live in this area too. I do a great job of posting some of those also on Tuesday Tours with Mandi on my Instagram page. So beyond my website, I have you covered on what's happening in some of the local neighborhoods that I serve as well. Underneath my collections page, essentially this is the part of my website that lets you favorite the homes that you love and hide the ones that you don't. You can also create collections to organize your favorites and share them back and forth with me. And that way then we can essentially find your favorites with ease and then collaborate amongst ourselves and or with anyone else that you're looking to help guide you or a partner that's helping you to make your decisions. I also have a blog, and I would suggest that you check that out for any up-to-date home tips and tricks, market data, home buying and home selling suggestions, community events, and much, much more. All right, so you came here today to get your questions answered. So if there's a key issue you'd like to hear about, what is it? Share it with me in the chat box. Let's start with step one, hire your agent. Typically, there are 2 real estate agents involved in every transaction. One of the agents represents the seller and the other represents the buyer. Do your research when choosing your agent. Ask about their experience, knowledge of the market, and their negotiation skills. Find one that suits your needs and personality, and not just because they are your friend or not just because they are your family member. It's okay to interview multiple numbers of agents before making a selection. You don't owe anyone anything. If I've earned your trust and provided you value and you choose me as your buyer's agent, this is a commitment I make to you. My goal is to get you from the starting line to the crossing line, the threshold of your new home with little to no hassle. And the good news, my services can be paid by the seller at the close of their sale. The first step in hiring your agent is to agree on a commitment or loyalty agreement between the two of us with what we call a buyer's representation agreement. This is no cost to you to have this agreement. This is just an agreement that we come together to say that we agree as buyer and agent, we agree to do what's necessary and in your best interest from start to finish. Let's walk through the entire timeline of buying a home. If anything we've talked about today has led you to decide that you are not ready to buy a home right away, that's okay. There are more actions that we can take today that will bring you closer to being a homeowner. If you're concerned about your credit history, there are a number of nonprofit credit counseling services and debt service resources that can help you formulate and concentrate a plan that will get you where you want to be. If you want to save up for a down payment, while remembering that you may not need as large of a down payment as you previously thought, budget for it, be realistic about what's possible, and put that plan into action. I can help you prepare and figure out how you need, to make your budget. Part of my job is to be your local market expert. I can help you to watch neighborhoods that you'd like to buy in and tracking any of those trends that can help you to formulate a plan and any other additional data that you think might be helpful to get your finances in order. For the virtual environment, we are going to consider approaching the idea of financing a little bit differently. Let's walk through this timeline. Beginning with when you need to move is the most important thing. you would like to share when your lease is up, and you would want to share when you need to move out. This means your last lease payment is due when. Ideally, you'd like to move into your new home when. You'll want to take ownership or close on your house when, which means you'll need to be under contract to purchase when. We'll begin looking at houses based upon when you want to buy and when you want to close. We will utilize the guide that you see here to help us get to the appropriate date, to provide that information to your lender, to allow us to have a very structured plan on start to finish, shopping to close, and when you need to have your finances in order to be approved by a lender to offer a strong offer to a potential seller. Step number 2. Almost right now in this high-paced seller's market, it is extremely important to be pre-approved for your financing. In order to present a strong offer, it is extremely important to be pre-approved for your financing and have clarity on where you're going. There are some important differences between pre-approval and pre-qualification. Let's review this. Pre-approval, to be clear, is a formal application that you're submitting to your lender. You've decided that you want to buy a home and you want to submit essentially, let's just say, a credit card application to that lender. You want to know, what can you be approved for? Okay? There's a formal commitment from a lender to then work back with you to find you the best rates and to find you the best program that will meet your needs. It's important that you state how much you want to borrow, just as much as it's important for the lender to state how much you can borrow and at what rate they can offer you. Having a pre-approval makes you a stronger buyer in all markets, to be clear, but it makes you a strong buyer, especially right now in a seller's market when there could be multiple offers on the table. Pre-qualification, okay, pre-approved. It is not a formal and lengthy process, as some may say, and there is not a commitment from a lender, and there is the ability to get a rough estimate of how much you can borrow. Okay, so pre-qualification helps us through the process of understanding how can we or what should we be searching or shopping for today. Pre-approval, you're going through the process, you know what your eligibilities are, and you are proving to the seller that you are a strong buyer and have the ability to close. Being pre-approved means you are ready to buy and puts you in a stronger position when making offers on a home. Simply put, pre-qualification is simply a conversation. What does it look like I can afford? I have several approved lenders that I can certainly get you in touch with. And I recommend benchmark lending here in Texas. I also recommend Direct Mortgage Loans, Sean Rigsby. He is a national lender and keeps a close eye on what's happening specifically in Texas. All of my recommendations specialize in first-time home buyers, as well as have the ability to work with you confidentially to review your home purchase inquiry, as well as to confidentially review your income, your debt, and your credit, and then help you to further determine what you can afford. They will also educate you on different options for loans, interest rates, and down payment amounts. Create a budget for yourself and follow it. Follow it. To get started, there are many simple budget worksheets online, including one on consumer.gov website under budgets. You can ask your credit report from your lender if you don't already have one, and you can begin paying down debt. If need be, make simple changes to your lifestyle. For example, cut down on eating out or going to movies, shopping and buying things that are needs, or I should say that are wants rather than needs. And often cut down on expensive purchases with coffees and drinks every day. Those are ways to kind of get that budget under control and keep your credit line under control when you're being reviewed by your lenders. Down payment. The first down payment you make, this can vary between, on average, 3% and 20% of the price of the home. Interest rates, that's the amount you will pay to have the loan. And currently interest rates are running very low, as I said, ranging anywhere from that 2.92, 2.86, 3% range. And the idea of understanding what the term of your loan is extremely important. This essentially identifies the length of time to pay off the mortgage. The time frame you choose affects both the interest rate and your payment, ideally. It can range either from a 30-year mortgage to a 15-year mortgage, and a variety of additional factors. As I mentioned, I go into this a little bit more deeply in my Mandi's Minutes, and so you certainly can reference that. And these are great questions to dial in with the professionals, either from benchmarking lending or direct mortgage lending. PITI, what is that? That essentially your monthly mortgage payment is made of this, PITI. And it is an acronym for the components that comprise your monthly mortgage payment. P reference essentially the principal and what you pay towards the equity of your home. I represents interest, essentially the money that you're going to pay to the lender to hold your loan. T references the taxes. That's some taxes that you'll pay to the state and or any local entities for owning your home. And I, the last I, references insurance, what essentially you will pay to protect your investment. So essentially PITI, remember, it's just simply the acronym for the components that comprise of your monthly mortgage payment. All right, your lender will essentially provide you with your pre-approval amount. This will be based upon your income, your expenses, and your debt. Based on your loan options, you will choose your down payment. And I do a segment on lending mortgages and programs offered in Texas on Mandi's Minutes. So you'll definitely want to refer to that to learn a little bit more about the ideas of lending and your opportunities for down payments, and as they can vary, as I talked before, between 0 and 20%. But for the sake of what we're talking about today, let's just say that if you choose to put less than 20% down, you are required to pay an additional PMI, or what's known as private mortgage insurance, which is currently around 0.8%. Paying 20% or more down, you can avoid this fee. And this lets you essentially say you're pre-approved for a $200K loan. The amount of your down payment you make determines the amount of the house you can buy. So, for example, with 5% down or with $10,500, you can buy a home for $210,000. With 20% down or $48,000, you can buy a home for $240,000. Make a plan to save your down payment and consider the time it will take to realistically have that. As I mentioned before, there are ways to earn that down payment. You can earn that down payment from side jobs, savings, parents or in-laws by way of gifts, etc. Working back with your lender can certainly help you identify that path and what's the best way to achieve those goals. Once you get your pre-approval letter, you essentially will be ready to start looking for your new home. However, it is essential that you not change your financial status from the time of pre-approval until you close on your home, as this can certainly affect the overall loan approval process. This means no big purchases like cars, furniture, opening any lines of credit with new credit cards, etc., and definitely no job changes. Step 3, now comes the fun part, looking for your first home. When we visit together, you'll complete my questionnaire so that I completely understand your needs and wants, and then choose the right houses for you to look at. After all, you don't want to fall in love with a house that you can't afford or doesn't meet your needs. So we're certainly going to understand the financial backgrounds, and that is why that pre-qualification part is so important. I have found that the first few homes that you take a look at will be more like an education process. It'll help you to take a look at the market. It'll help you to see what's available in the market and kind of get your feet wet. So sometimes the first one is not the one. And that is absolutely okay. It will help us to essentially refine your search. If you use my website, you will also have an ability to search and love your favorites. I will then set you up for automated searches so you can receive weekly emails from me about neighborhoods that you're interested, or homes or areas that you're interested in. And then you can always heart or favorite, and then essentially we have a good idea of where you want to go and where you want to shop. And essentially that puts us one step ahead in our buying or our touring process. And again, my website, it is a great place for you to start looking for your new home. There you'll be able to search by city, by zip, by landmark, by neighborhood, and so much more. If you see a house that you love, you can, again, share it with me directly utilizing the website, and then we can definitely discuss it later. So that's another way, sharing it back with me, emailing me back the listing, texting me back the listing, just favoriting the listing or hearting the listing. That's all really great ways for us to utilize this database to be able to review properties and then later discuss them together. All right, who's already been looking? I know that there are some of you on today's webinar that have already been looking, hence the reason why you're here today. So of course everyone is looking, right? It's easy to do, especially with all of the real estate sites, websites, applications that are out there. However, most of these sites and these apps are missing many available properties, and the information may be out of date. So some of the homes may have already sold, and some of the prices may not be accurate, etc. That's why it's extremely important that you allow me to link you up with our portal, where you can see directly into the MLS. And that's essentially the multiple listing service. The MLS is where all listings are posted throughout the state of Texas, and it allows us to have the most current and up-to-date information. You have the ability, once you log on to my website, to essentially see that information. So if you love a house, if it comes directly from an email listing from me, you can be confident that you're receiving that information because that is still an active listing. That doesn't happen when you look at some of the additional websites or apps that are out on the market. So it allows us essentially to see that active inventory. And it also allows us to see what homes are coming soon on the market. It's free and easy to use, my website, that is. It's even an open house website. You can get on there and see if there are any homes in the area that are offering open houses. And I have a built-in mortgage calculator for you to play around as well. If you're interested in that, again, I've shared it a couple of different times, but if you need it again, please comment that in the chat box, and I will make sure that you have it by the end of the presentation. If not, I will give it to each of you directly when I send out my email for feedback. All right, when we look at houses together, it's extremely important for you to keep a couple of things in mind. We'll each be looking for different things, that is for sure. You'll be interested in the layout of the house, the backyard, the master bedroom, the master bathroom, its amenities, what the kitchen looks like, how big the pantry is, where you see yourself sitting, where you see yourself reading stories to your children. Can you take a phone call in privacy? All of these things. As an agent, I will be looking at how the house compares to others in the area and any big ticket items that will need to be repaired. Some other things you'll want to watch for when you're looking at houses is the neighborhoods. Are the kids playing out front? Are the yards maintained? Are the streets lined with cars? Do you feel safe? Are there nearby amenities? All things to consider to keep your eyes wide open. So when you're making this decision, you're making the best long-term decision. It will also be my job to help you to understand the home investment that you're making. Is that home investment going to have a return for you should you need to sell in the future? We will talk more about that as we shop together. All right, there are pros and cons essentially to condo and townhome buying, and I won't go too much in detail about this. We'll use this as kind of like a one-off conversation if that's where you're headed, but certainly just know that there are pros and cons to condos and townhomes as alternatives to essentially a single family home. Often the first-time buyer likes to choose the option as a way to enter the market with something that's a little bit more affordable, but we'll certainly review these two ideas when we have a little more information specifically about you and what you and your family or what you independently can own. All right, and the same thing here too regarding new construction versus resale. There are good and there are not so good things about new construction. And we will certainly review those again at the time of our initial meeting. Also, new builds may appreciate quite differently, especially if you're in a neighborhood or a subdivision that is not yet built out, and your home would be essentially competing with still the brand new homes that could be being built or finished in the completion of the neighborhood. So again, the idea of new construction, I don't want to dissuade, because we know that with low inventory, this is something that a lot of folks are leaning towards, but we definitely should talk further about the pros and cons related to that purchase when the time is right for you. All right, so we've made it through essentially the approval processes. We've made it through the shopping phase, and now you think that you found your home. What are we going to do? You found it, and you want to make an offer, and you want to negotiate, and you want to successfully close. So price. To help you determine a fair price to offer on the home, I will essentially provide a comparable market analysis, oftentimes referred to as a CMA. This essentially will help us to know what other properties in that specific area have sold for, and how often they've sold. And this will then help us to make sure that we're coming up with the appropriate price that's near the listing price before making an offer. Terms, there's much more to an offer than price. The 6 details which I'll help you navigate are schedule, when it will close. For example, conveyances. We will talk about that and what essentially appliances and decor will stay or what will go. We will also talk about commission and who pays the commission fees for both agents, the agent representing the seller and the agent representing you. We'll also discuss closing costs and who will pay those. We can talk about any home warranties, if the seller has any that are essentially lifetime that will be transferred over to you or not. And then the ideas of home warranties and how those differ between resale and new construction. We'll also talk about earnest money. And that is essentially a deposit that is paid to protect the seller from the possibility that the buyer might pull out of the deal. So we'll identify that. Contingencies, essentially conditions that allow you to opt out of the purchase. For example, after receiving an inspection report and discovering foundation issues, maybe you want to have the ability that if they're such, you either want them to be repaired, you want to cancel your contract and no longer purchase the home, etc. Maybe there's a contingency that the seller will have for you that they need to be able to essentially find a home to buy themselves in order to sell or close on their existing home with you. So we'll talk about contingencies as well. Remember, everything is negotiable, and that is why your agent needs to be strong in negotiations and understand the sales process and sales terms. This is essentially where I think my experience in sales and the knowledge I have of the market and the knowledge that I have of the industry will be an extremely big help to you. Step 5, there is no such thing as a perfect home. So please don't think that, whether it's a resale or new construction, no such thing as perfect. There will be some repairs that will need to be addressed, from leaky faucets to more costly issues, water heaters, roofs, etc. And you'll find all of this out with a proper home inspection that is completed by a professional home inspector. This is not something you or I will put our eyes on and then make suggestions and negotiations. This is something that a licensed inspector will provide an inspection report, and that will go to both the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. And then together we'll essentially negotiate any repairs or any suggestions for monetary reimbursements, and move forward with that process of the contract. I am certainly available to recommend home inspectors to you to hire, but just like I suggested, you interview multiple agents before choosing the right agent. And as I suggested, interviewing multiple lenders before choosing your best lender, I'm going to suggest that you do the very same. Interview a variety of home inspectors and choose the one that you think is best for you to hire. All right, option period. I will help you through the inspection process and consult with you to determine the appropriate negotiation strategy that we will use. And essentially that is about a 7-day period. And that's what's considered to be the option period. We'll discuss that a little bit further. Some folks actually make a payment and buy more days to have an extended period of time for their option period. But traditionally it's 10 days, 7 to 10 days after the offer to have your inspection done and to address any issues to move forward through the next phases of the contract to close. All right, and truly, just as this slide says, don't sweat the small stuff. It's the big stuff that matters. You want to know what you're getting into and make a decision whether to move forward on buying this home. You don't want to buy someone else's problems. And I like to say, know before you own. We're not necessarily worried about if the light bulb isn't working in the chandelier. That can be changed. We're not necessarily worried about if the locks on the doors can be changed or tightened. We are worried about foundations. We are worried about windows. We are worried about ceilings and floors and walls and shingles and plumbing and electrical problems. We're worried about other issues that are relevant to specific regions and areas, such as mold, termites, lead-based paint. Those are our big issues, not our small issues. All right, so after the inspection process and negotiating that, you are yet one step closer to being a homeowner. And with just a few more steps around the corner, you will be set to close on your deal and own your own home. All right, so essentially pre-closure. This may differ just a little bit based upon costs and certainly your budget, but you want to essentially, with the pre-close, you're determining essentially your budgets and your expenses and doing kind of some of those final phases with your lender. So again, I'm just going to remind you, please make sure that you keep yourself mortgage worthy, if you would, credit worthy, no additional big purchases, right? You're going to start beginning to budget for additional expenses. What will be your closing costs? What will be the earnest money that you'll need to present to the seller? Do you want to buy an extended option period? What's the cost for your inspections? Maybe you want to do a survey on the house and really know truly how big your lot line is and or how long, or I'm sorry, not how long, but how big the actual structure of the home is. And then any additional miscellaneous fees that may come up. you also may want to take a look at your homeowners insurance policies and essentially what that first year is going to look like, and begin to reserve that. And I would extremely advise you to also take a look at your first year's worth of taxes for the purchase of your home, and treat it just like you are with the homeowners insurance. Make sure that you essentially have that, and that that's being budgeted appropriately and escrowed. And then any additional reserves that you want to make for initial home improvements or repairs after the sale. Listen, not everyone is going to have fresh carpet. Does that mean that we shouldn't buy a house because it doesn't have fresh carpet, or because it has carpet and we wanted wood flooring, or vice versa, it had wood flooring and we want to have carpet? No, we're not going to not buy our dream home just because of those smaller things. Or maybe the wall is painted white and you wanted to have it painted violet. You want to make sure that you start thinking about reserving some monies to make that house your home when you get ready to step foot in it. And then we also talk a little bit about the final walk through the home and what that will look like. All right, and so essentially then that takes us to closing and a huge celebration. Ring the bell, ding, ding, ding. You've got your new house, and it will essentially be our job to walk through it prior to the day of close, make sure that any of those inspection repairs that are negotiated are mended, that the home is being left in the condition that it should be for you to take over ownership, and then essentially bring you to the time of closing. And some of the things that you'll need to bring essentially are your certified funds, evidence of your insurance, that is your home insurance policy. You'll definitely need a valid ID. And right now, there's a couple of different ways that this can be approached. This can be approached in a traditional manner of actually going to the title company and closing face-to-face, but we do offer e-closings as well. You just need to be willing to have a notary come to your home, or come to a place of business, come to an apartment, whatever it may be, to walk through that process, and we can discuss that further. Once that's done, the settlement statement and a transfer of clean title gets all housed and sent to the professionals managing that, and you receive the keys and drive to your new home. All right, so lastly, I don't want to just talk about essentially the buying process itself. I think it's extremely important to know and think about some of the things that come after taking on that home ownership and or taking those keys, and know that this is a major accomplishment. And now you get to feel essentially the pride of owning your home. So what do you do with that, right? Keep in mind that I continue to be your resource even after that deal closes. So I'm here to help you with that. I have many recommendations from professionals who can help you install lighting fixtures, to painting the inside and the outside of your home, to helping you with any type of repair, or how about anything that you want to build upon your existing features. You're looking for a pool, you're looking for pergola extension to have shade on your patio, you're looking to have gas lines placed outside so you can connect your grill, whatever it may be. Just know that I work with a variety of different services, service personnel in the industry, and I keep all of those contacts and any additional home tips for you to reference. So Also know there are quite a few things that you'll want to consider on maintaining the home and keeping it in good tip-top shape for not only the longevity of yourself, but for that potential opportunity that you might have to sell in the future. So as you see, it's extremely important to do routine maintenance on your home systems, spending time making sure that they're up to date with HVAC and the alike. Keep an eye on watchful signs for any leaks or damages, wear and tears. Fixing small problems along the way is much better than waiting for that big problem to explode and having a much larger expense later on. Keep all receipts of anything that you do for your home. It's a great way of proving to the next potential buyer what you've done. Did you repair the roof? Did you put in new air conditioning? Did you put in a new hot water heater? Did you put in surround sound systems? Did you put in home security systems? All of those types of ideas come in the bill of receipts to be proof of what you've done and when you've done it. And then also talk again with a professional to look at the ideas of a home warranty, especially by way of resale if you're not buying new construction. All right, and there is no better time than to get started than now. So if you are interested in purchasing a new home, I would just say send me a note in the chat. Again, you've got my email, and you also have my webpage, you have my phone number, you can email, you can text, you can call. I'm here to help you with any additional questions you may have beyond today. I'm getting started, and I look forward to an excellent opportunity to serve you. All right, and just to finalize a few things, I just want to remind you, as agreeing to work together, my commitment to you is to educate you about the market, educate you about the community, educate you about the home, the entire process. It's my job to analyze your wants and needs and help you to finite those and drive you into the right direction, steer you into a home that fits your criteria, fits your needs, fits your wants, and fits your future ambitions. It's also my job to essentially coordinate you working with those other professionals. We talked about the home inspector, we talked about the lender, we've talked about individuals that can come help you and do services after home ownership. It's my job to help coordinate those individuals or to provide you with those contacts. And first and foremost, it's extremely important that I be negotiating on your behalf. It is my fiduciary duty, by us joining in a client-agent relationship, that I keep your best interests in mind. And it would be an absolute pleasure to negotiate the home purchase on your behalf. And then lastly, it's my job to solve any problems that come up. It's my job to be the mediator. And again, don't sweat the small stuff. Let me sweat the big stuff for you. And with that, I will just essentially close. If you would like a copy of today's presentation, leave me your name, address, phone number, and email address, and I will send you a copy. Also, remember, I will be posting this to my Instagram page for future reference. And this webinar does occur once a month, every first Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you have any additional questions, be sure to send them over to me. For those who'd like my essentially link to my portal and or to take a look at my website, I will certainly be sharing that with you again in the next slide. And I will end our session essentially with leaving that slide up for a few minutes for you to take any additional information away with you. And again, I just thank you very much for attending, and I will be here for anyone who has any additional questions. I will throw up the screen and stop recording our presentation, and look forward to working with you in the future and making your home buying dreams come true.